know the world.
All right, if we could take a moment of silence for two of our union brothers who passed away since our last party, Jim Woods and Bill Dillard. Okay, now we're going to have our union president here, Mr. Pete Trinidad, and Mr. Stahlbaum, if you could come up here. Drop your cake. And if we could have our 7 retirees come on over here. 6 and a half.
Bruce, up there, wait. Let's go.
Yeah, come on up, Kevin.
Here.
All right, we're going to present these plaques to these current and soon-to-be near future retiree, Mr. Hurd. Actually had the opportunity when I hired it off the street as a craft person to be in craft school with a gentleman named Brad Hurd. That's when I first met him, and we went through craft school together and learned a lot of things from him, kind of how things went along in the mill and some of the history of the mill. George Hudson was one of the instructors at the time. What a lot of people out there don't remember or understand is you guys are the living history of this facility. You have people who had to take their lunches to the job and eat, didn't have break rooms. Everything you fought for, we enjoy today. We need to make sure that that history isn't lost and that new hires and future new hires understand that and appreciate what you guys have done for us. Thank you. The actual retirement plaque reads, on behalf of all the officers, reavers, and members of Local Union 6787, we sincerely appreciate your loyal and dedicated continuous service. And it's signed by Paul Gibson. This will be one of the last plaques that he signed, so you guys ought to cherish these. Next group, we have my name.
Pete said that they only have 3,000 more of these to give out before they switch over to Pete Trinidad.
All right.
Nearly as valuable.
All right. First ones they have right here is Gerald Miller. Come on up.
Going alphabetically here, huh?
There is a second generation.
Stephen Yancey.
Hey, stay here.
Yeah, don't go sitting down. Just stay in line.
More to come.
Donald Quinowich. Kevin Miller. Melvin Monroe. Bradford Burke.
And a surprise.
And here's the one of the fancy ones from the past for a gentleman that never got his, Harry Stewart. There you go, Harry. Congratulations.
Is Ron Lonsberry still here? I don't see him. Is he still here? Ooh, where? He left?
You're going to get around early. That's scary.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can do this. I don't know how many people counted the active members in the room. I got 14. That means, Joe, you walked into after the fact, so you might be 50. Joe's the only one that can get a traffic violation without being in the plane. just today. Anyway, I have some things that the company gave everybody for last year's performance. We set some outstanding performance records. So they give every employee and retiree I don't know if I want to open this, I might break it. But it's a commemorative plate for 2014 for making 5.2 million tons. There's a plate stand in here. There is a $50 gift card that we've already got. If you worked in 2014 and you don't drool. And a trading card. So, I'm kidding, Bruce. I'm kidding. Inside of here is a credit card shaped thumb drive with a roughly an hour video of the making of Burns Harbor. So this movie's been out for a few years, but they wanted everybody to have their own copies. I happen to have Jerry Builders in my hand. Sorry that you're in the line. But I want to say thanks for myself, seriously. You? I'm sure it's that.
If you get a chance to get one of these, this is looks like a trading card. You flip out the edge, it turns into an OSB drive, little thing that you can plug right into your, like a flash drive in your computer. And it's the history of the Burns Harbor facility. It shows it from day one until it's completed, and then it goes into the steel making process. It shows the dunes out here, the aerial photography over the area before they even bought the land. It's really nice. It's about an hour long. And what's nice about this, when we're doing the 50th anniversary, one of the things we found out was, and I didn't know this, you guys may know some of this, this facility, when it was built by Bethlehem Steel, was the largest, to this date still, the largest private funded venture ever in the history of the United States, paid for by all the cash that Bethlehem Steel had in their treasury. Not one penny from the government or the state. Yeah, all the money that we helped them earn. We could talk. I'm going to talk to Paul, see if we can get a few from Mr. Bradley over there.
We'll be selling them to all the retirees who want to buy one in order to try and make some money back for this event. We'll sell it to you.
Hey, Donovan, if you ask Wagner, he'll probably buy you one. But Pete's right, really. It's, there's a lot of touching things in here. I've watched the video several times and you learn some things. The most interesting thing that I learned was when they actually broke ground in what, 64?
Yes. Or 63.
63. They took the place is built on a sand dune, right? But they could not use any of the sand to make the concrete. They had to truck it up from like Missouri.
580 million tons of sand were moved.
Why?
Union.
Hey, it's not a bad video. I watched it today. Allegedly, the beach sand was too fine.
It's too fine for concrete, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Bruce Deckard. Thank you. Kevin Miller. Come on, Kevin. Sure. Yes. Melvin. Speed, like Christmas. Everybody knows Speed.
He was too fast. Fly out later.
Safety Steve. Oh, you know what? I brought an extra just in case. Is that Donovan? Yeah, in case Donovan wanted to buy his tonight, I had an extra one. There's not one for Mr. Irk because technically he's still employed, so he's already gotten his commemorative plate and gift card. I have this.
Okay. When I finally retire, you're going to give that to me?
Thank you.
All right, our first honoree roast tonight is Mr. Bruce Deckard. And y'all who know Bruce know that he's squeaky clean.
It really was kind of difficult. I started asking people who worked with Bruce over the years, from the blast furnace to now, you know, what they had on Bruce, and Ken Kalinga said that he had nothing good to say about him. So I called up Romy Davis, and I said, hey Romy, what you got anything on Bruce? And he said, I don't have anything on Bruce. I don't have anything good to say about him either. Everybody I called said the same thing. So, you know, there are few men of action that have been able to make a graceful exit at the appropriate time. And Bruce, being pretty much unscathed, has done that. But Bruce has always had a tactful way to deal with the supervisors out there. He knew when to keep his mouth shut. And finally, one of the things that Kobe suggested, that Bruce had left his harness behind. So he suggested that we put something together for him in this harness. So the guys, this is his harness bag. It was marked. You remember this, right? Well, they gave it to me and they said, here's the harness Bruce left behind. He'll need this to be able to work on the house, on the roof nest, so he doesn't fall off or anything. But all that's in there is a piece of rope and a rubber band. And we'll be giving each of the retirees their $400 out of the tool-room fund, which pays for most of this.
Congratulations again, Bruce. Our next roastee is Kevin Millar. It seems like he's been retired for about 10 years now because he hasn't been at work in that long. One thing I noticed about Kevin, he was on SIP about 5 times for the same injury, but he kept forgetting which leg to limp on, so it kept switching from side to side.
I've known Kevin since we both worked in the blast furnace together, and we share a common birthday, about a year apart, but we're not twins. Even though Kevin,
He's got more hair.
the thing about Kevin is he always arrived late at work, but he always made up for it by leaving early. And the thing that about Kevin that we all know is that even though he's like 60-some-year-old man, he has a 35-year-old man inside of him asking, what happened? Because Kevin understood early that you are only young once, but you can remain immature your whole life.
Good one. And our next roastee is Jerry Biller. Yeah, I always enjoyed working with Jerry. He's got quick wit and always something good to say. I can still hear him laughing at Romy's crossword puzzle sometimes out there. And another thing a lot of guys don't know about Jerry, he was well traveled out in the mill, worked at a bunch of different units. Back in the 408, he had a partner, and he molded Big Bob into the millwright he is today. He's responsible for that. All right, before Jerry retired, he realized that it was time that he stepped aside so a less experienced and less able man take his place. That was in the wood shop that happened. Sorry, Kevin, I just thought of you when that happened. A lot of our seniors, like Jerry Miller and Melvin are late arrivals to the texting age. So we reviewed some of the new codes of texting out there. You know, like LOL means laughing out loud, or LMAO means laughing my ass off, as well as CBM means covered by Medicare, CUATSC means see you at the senior center. FWBB means friends with beta blockers. GGPBL means gotta go, pacemaker battery running low. GHA means got heartburn again. IMHO means is my hearing aid on. LMDO means laughing my dentures out. LWO means Lawrence Welk's on. That might be a little even above your guys' time. OMMR means on my massage recliner. OMSG means oh my sorry gas. TTYL means talk to you louder. That applies to a lot of guys, I think, unfortunately. WAITT means who am I talking to? WTP means where's the prunes?
I'd just like to say this about Jerry. Jerry used to grade my crossword puzzles, and he'd actually grade them with a red pencil. I'd come in the lunchroom where I sat and did my crossword puzzles, and Jerry would come in, and I'm not too good at crossword puzzles. So one time I got the whole crossword puzzle right, and I thought Jerry was going to give me an A, but he still gave me a B+ because of penmanship.
Like I said, he always had something to say, always added to the conversation. Our next roastie is Mr. Monroe. I had the privilege of working.
Oh, I know he does.
I had the privilege of working with Mr. Monroe as soon as I came to the caster, and he shaped me into what I am today. In fact, one co-employee, Mr. Deckard, pointed out that Melvin was the second phase of my training to become a certified asshole. I started out with Hudson.
No, he does okay.
Yeah, what are you saying about me?
You got a certificate.
Because I started out with Hudson and Millwright School, then I worked under Melvin on crew, and I finished it up with Nick Wiseman. They said after that I was certified. Now the thing about Melvin, you always knew he had trouble expressing himself. He really didn't know how to let his feelings out. Only Ken Halinga's more quiet around the shop than him. He was also known by one surly guy we worked with as the bull in the china shop. I ain't saying who said that about you though, Melvin.
There's another retiree.
Yeah, he's sitting right in front of you. Now, one of the things I learned when I went to the caster, and I didn't know this, Nick Wiseman taught me that you could use Melvin's body size and weight to judge how big things in the mill were. Nick cared about him so much he even named his fattest goldfish after Melvin. Another thing that we never let him forget is he was responsible for Jermanuel Lee coming to the caster. Because everywhere Melvin went, Jermanuel had to follow. So I'm just wondering when Jermanuel's moving to New Mexico.
Now got a spare room?
Yeah, that's up to him, I guess. Melvin was always kept us well informed. He knew all the shop gossip and where all the skeletons were kept. Thank you.
Yeah, full in the chance.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Let's come here and do another work. Some things happen. All right, our next roastie is Mr. Steve Yatsik. Now, he was a tough one to come up with some stuff on. Like some of you might not know, especially the younger guys, I think Steve's been engaged for about 40 years now. He's been holding her off. And also, for a while, a group of the guys in the caster were going on road trips to Las Vegas. It was rumored that him and Melvin almost got married. I'm not sure though, Romy and Millar won't say what they saw when that hotel room door opened up.
He came to the door naked.
I had a towel on.
Okay, a lot of people don't really know, I don't know if you remember, or those of you who weren't there at the time, but Steve almost got fired by John Fonzo. There was the incident that occurred, and since now that Steve's retired, we can really tell the whole story, right, Steve? What really happened, you know, Fonzo's story was, he said that Steve grabbed him and spun him around. He said, he was a big guy, I didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he was going to hit me or something. But the real story is, you know, this was captured on film but never released. When Fonzo spun around, he dropped to his knees and started crying and said, please don't do anything to me, Steve. Don't do anything. That's what really happened.
Oh, I got one more. A few years back, me and Tom Young, and for those of you who had the pleasure of working with him, he was a delight to work with, quick-witted, and had a lot of good things to say. Well, if I'm remembering the story right, it was a 3 to 11, and of course we just got done doing our job. Right, Jeff? And we were sitting around talking, and somehow the story of Safety Steve came up. And I thought it was a shame that we couldn't have a doll for kids to play with, you know, a role model to look up to. And so we were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and I said, yeah, it'd be nice for Christmas time if we could have the Safety Steve action figure out and market it. Well, Tom Young pointed out we would need to call it the Safety Steve No Action figure. Now, unfortunately, Tom passed away before our dream was realized, but what I got here is the prototype for the Safety Steve No Action figure. Now, you'll notice the safety glasses are clean cut, just like the real thing. He's wearing his safety pants and shirt, flame retardant, of course. And do you notice anything about this, Paul, that might resemble Steve?
Yep, it's anatomically correct. Nothing's there. Oh, and one more thing. Steve, there's an extra $100 in there. Everybody else has $400. You have $500, and you know why. Yeah. That's to help pay for that operation.
You have him show your left hand.
Alright. Our next roastee is Brad Erk. Now, what I learned is some of you might remember a few years back when Nick Wiseman got rode up by Nick Gregrich and got sent home. What we found out is Brad was actually plotting with the giant brain to get him fired so he could take over hydraulics. That's something he didn't let out to many people. Now, most of you already know this is, I think, the 10th year in a row Brad's been retiring. And quite frankly, a lot of the guys in the caster get sick of it. Every year they get their hopes up only to be disappointed when he's there the next January. But we got it taken care of this year. Mr. Stahlbaum has already arranged to have him transferred to crane repair to work for Tim Palmer if he doesn't retire again this year.
Well, we're getting fired. Yeah, a few years back, Brad tried to transfer back to the electrical department. You notice here, no electricians are here because they all said they didn't think Brad was retiring. That's why they didn't come. But when he tried to transfer back to electrical, they actually changed the rules so that he couldn't come back to electrical. And they said, no, you got to start all over again to come back to electrical in order for you to do that. Also, Brad was very upset very upset. Jerry Woodard, who's not here tonight, he's one of the younger guys who agreed to take over the management of the plaque that we have over here that we all know about. It has all the retirees who ever retired from the caster, management and hourly, and that we know of. So Jerry took over that plaque, and so near the, a couple, 3 months ago when we were getting all this together, he had the little plaques on there, little signage made, and he asked everybody if it's okay to put them on there, and he thought he asked Brad, and Brad said, yeah, it's okay. But then Brad became very upset when his name was hanging on there at the plaque that he had already retired, and he's still working here. Now, this wasn't years ago, this was only a couple months ago. So, eventually, when he finally made the decision, he claimed he regrets having stretched it out through the end of June. However, I have heard very disturbing news that he's talking about running it to even longer now, maybe September or so. But he actually put the plaque back on himself, his little name tag back on, and it was captured on film, him doing it. And these young guys caught it on film and passed it around. Jerry got it text to him or sent to him that he's putting it back on, Jerry. I'm not sure if that's monopoly money in there, and we'll get the real thing once you do retire. That's it.
All right, so I guess it's obvious who the last guy is, but we saved the best for last, of course. Now, one thing some people might not know is the Slow Ski Turtles TV ad was actually patented after Don. That's the prototype they used.
Don was always a clean freak, almost like OCD. I'm sure you guys might know that. He's always complaining about things in the #1 parts office where he finished his career as anybody came in with dirty shoes on, he complained about them. And he also tried to institute the booty program where you had to put booties on before you came into the office, just like the Screaming Eagle superintendent says. And he complained about Rich Kandick shaving in the office when Rich was in there. he even had the nerve to complain about Strickland working in #1 parts and leaving #1 shop and leaving the shop dirty, so he had to clean up around there. Now, for our final roaster, we have the premium roaster up here to give to our final roasting of Mr. Winovich.
First of all, I gotta put my line down, a cigarette. Hello? Anyhow, I just want you to know that all these guys are retired tonight. You heard the talk about them and everything. They're trying to roast them. I got some real shit on them. I got some real dirt. I got the dirt. I can tell you everything about every one of those guys. But anyhow, they asked me to
Do it!
Melvin, where you at, Melvin? This man right there,
Okay,
Jeff,
I see him.
he yelled at me. He brought me in the office. He's my foreman.
Hey, this is about Donny. Hey, this is about Donny.
Because you bent your finger. And it's the second or third time I took him over.
People don't
because you bent your
understand.
finger.
I had 2 accidents because of this aspirin.
And the EMT, he says, do you want to go to the hospital? And I says, hell yeah, take him to the hospital. Cut that finger off. It's nothing scar tissue.
I had 2
It
terrible
gets in
days
the way.
because of this asshole. I tried to cut it off. He said that wasn't good enough, so he put my hand in there and he cut it again.
I told him to take your finger off at the wrist. Oh, Donny. Yes. Hey, have a chair. Don, you're like like a brother to me. We've been together for 35 years working. I've known you for 40. We're both from Pennsylvania. There's no damn reason for me to be saying this stuff about you. But Paul called and threatened me. So, at any rate, I got a story. If we don't run too long, maybe 2 stories. We're going to forget about stuff being wet. We were talking about earlier today. That's X-rated. Anyhow, Donny has a passion for Corvettes. He's always one and tell me, he says, Bill, why don't you buy a Corvette? I said, the car gets me to A to B. I'll take a horse. I don't care. Oh, you gotta get a Corvette. So, Donny, me, I think it was Steve Yatsik and Tommy Hart were golfing at Plymouth Golf Academy. And Tommy tees off, I tee off, Yatsik tees off, and we're waiting for Winnie, and I'm looking around, and where the hell's Winnie? And he's over there in a garbage can. He's in his garbage can, and he's digging around. What the hell's he doing? He's pulling out beer cans. He's going like this. And beer from a day, 2 days, 3 days, it's coming all over him. Donny, come on, get up here and tee off. He gets up, tees off, we go next to him. Same damn thing. I said, Donny, what are you doing? And he will not explain it to us. So by the 3rd hole, I said, okay, that's it. What are you doing, Donny? Because the beer was just all over him. He says, was it old style?
Old style.
Old style. They were having a contest for a Corvette. And in the bottom of the can was a picture of a Corvette. And if you got this Corvette can, you won a Corvette. Pretty cool. But Donny didn't want to tell us because he thought we'd all be going through the garbage. But, man. We don't need a Corvette that bad. By the time you get to the 18th hole, Donny's driving around with Steve. Steve won't even let him in the car. He's making him walk because he stinks. He got beer all over him. He reek. So that was our golf weekend. I go to work Monday. Kobolinsky, where you at, Joe? Joe always had Corvette magazines. There's a little picture of a Corvette that says Corvette parts and an ad. I said, damn, I could cut that out. I could put that in a beer can. Hey, this is looking pretty good. You know, I mean, give me a little idle time, Jeff. I had a little bit of time on it. I was doing my job. I was on my lunch break. Got it. So, okay, so I get the Stroh's can, clean it out, spray it with lacquer, put this in with a welding rod, place it just right, spray it another time, 5 coats of lacquer. I ain't telling, I mean, I gotta admit, this damn thing looks fine. I mean, I should get a trophy. This is good. So, there's a welder out there, Jerry Estes, Spanky. And I put the 6-pack, empty 6-pack in a bag, give it to Jerry. He says, Jerry, Donny's gonna be walking by here sometime shortly. When he comes back, tell him you heard that he was collecting aluminum cans. Jerry says, huh? I said, don't worry about it, Jerry, just do it. There comes Don. Jerry said, Don, I hear you're collecting aluminum cans. Here you go. Don said, I ain't collecting aluminum cans. He opens it up, there's old style cans. Woo, woo, man, let me look, you know. So Don's looking there, my God, he finds a Corvette. I'm saying, he finds a Corvette. He comes in the door with me and George Hudson over there, we're sitting there, and he comes in, he says, hey, I got the Corvette. You know, he looks, George, let me see it. He won't even let George have it. I swear, George, come on, he wouldn't even let me touch it. So, I said, let me see it. I look, I said, I can't find a damn thing in it. I grab a flashlight. Oh, you're right, Donny, you got it. He takes off up to the office, calls his wife, honey, I got the Corvette, I'm leaving, I'm coming home. I'm telling George, I says, George is going too far. I mean, I'm not a opposed to doing stuff like this, but I said, come on, we're on time and a half, the guy's gonna go home. George says, screw it, let him go. Right? Then I said to George, what's gonna happen? He goes to Old Style. They say, what the hell are you trying to pull here, buddy? Get on. So Donnie's leaving the office and he yells down to Spanky. He says, Spanky, thanks for the Corvette. Spanky always says, don't thank me, thank Donovan. Right then I can see Okay, Donnie. Hey, I don't know, if y'all want to go home, I got one more. One more. Or my board. First of all, I gotta have a cigarette, glass of wine.
There's the
Like I
reason.
said, Don had a passion for Corvettes. Don had a passion for Corvettes. He bought a Corvette off of Billy Johnson, I believe. It was pumpkin orange. And he went boating with my buddy, our buddy, Bob Wagner, one summer day. And Don had to go to work on 311s. So they returned to the boat dock. Don can't find his keys for this beautiful Corvette. And the Isaac Walton's on 249. Out in the middle of nowhere, underneath the street light. And Don can't find his keys, so he goes working. At the time, we were working a bunch of overtime. I'm coming to work midnight, so I told Don, he says, Donnie, I was over at the Heights. I says, I see a Corvette out there underneath the street light in the middle of nowhere. Cops ain't driving by. I says, is that yours? He says, yeah, I lost my keys. I'm working all this overtime. Can't get a locksmith out. I said, that's going to get ripped off, man. It's like the great pumpkin under the moon. You know, and he says, I'm working the overtime, need the overtime. Okay. So we go on the next day, I'm coming in, Donnie, there's your car, man. It's still there. Hey, thumbs up, it's doing great. 3 days go by, same story. Donnie, man, there's your car. Hey, you're looking up, man. I can't believe it hasn't been stolen yet. So now we're working day turns, and a friend of mine, and many of you guys, Billy Guys, you all know him. He belonged on TV instead of some of the stupid-ass comedians they got on there. He was that good. I told Billy, I says, Billy, I said, I got a script for you to read. I want you to call Don Winowich to the office on the phone and tell him you're Sergeant Dombrowski from the State Police South Bend Division, and you found something that looks like a Corvette. So Donnie gets a phone call, and oh God, it's a beautiful summer day. Hey Donnie, come on, let's go golfing. But he said, I can't go, I got something to do. All right. A couple hours later, come on Donnie, let's go golfing. Look, the sun's shining, it ain't gonna rain for a month. Let's go golfing. We can get a quick 9 in, maybe 18. I got something to do. One more time. I got something to do. Now we're going to the locker room at the end of the day. I says to Donnie, come on Donnie, let's go golfing. I got something to do. I can tell I'm starting to grade on him. He says, I got something to do. And I said, what are you going to do? Go to South Bend, see Sergeant Dombrowski? About some stupid Corvette. And about that time, I'm going into the parking lot. I know, he's chasing me. He's going to jerk me. So, anyhow, Don, like I said, I love you like a brother. And you know, half the stories I can't tell, unfortunately. But I got you this T-shirt. Oops, what is it? Oh, it's got a Corvette. Because I know you love Corvettes. He's just too funny not to mess with.
That's what friends are for, man. All right, well, that concludes the roast. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. I'd also like to thank Pete Trinidad for showing up and Mr. Stahlbaum. And hope we see all of you next year.
Then he got lost.
See you Wednesday.
About 30 something. Police survived that
Easy there.
Cut you off. It's 10.
we need mass transit out there. I took the street lights off for a while. Thanks to